country music fans out there. This is Leigh with Coda Country. And today I'm joined by Nashville singer-songwriter who's also a Belmont student currently. This is Laine Lonero. How are you today, Laine?
Hey guys, I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Well, and as soon as I heard your new single that's coming out, I just knew that we had to have you on this podcast. I don't know if you know much about Coda Country.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you know much about Coda, but we try to promote women as much as we can just because, we have so many talented ladies out there in the Nashville community. So trying to get your name out there. I know that you also have another single that just recently released. So before we talk about some of that, let's get
Yeah.
into the new song that you're releasing. I think this podcast is going to drop probably the Wednesday after this song is coming out. So everybody will probably have had a chance to hear it. Could you tell me a little bit about the writing process and the parts about Trouble that you love the most
Yeah.
as your single?
We got in the writer's room, me and a couple other guys, Justin, and we had a couple ideas and we just knew that we wanted something really hooky. Like we were determined. We were at Curb. We were like, all three of us were determined to write something super catchy. Like we had a really we wanted something upbeat for sure. Because I went in and I was like, we were writing for me, and I was like, I really, really want something upbeat, funky pop country. And Justin pulled out like this sync track that he had been trying to write something to, and it was just basically a loop track that had something to it. And I had the title Trouble from and it was like a completely different, not vibe, but like a completely different lyrics, completely different storyline. And the same, like with that, I had a hook chorus line that came with it, and not with the song, but like he kept playing this loop track, and we were just trying to think of like hooky lines to go with it, and I kept going across like Trouble again, and it kept like hitting me, and I was like, it's just hitting in that same spot, and I was like, I don't know, y'all, this feels like good. And then they were just like, I was like, maybe trust me on this, like let's see. And then it just kept hitting in that same spot. And they were like, yeah, you're right. That does feel really good. And I was like, okay, let's try it. Can we just try it? Maybe we see. So then, we just kept getting like lines and lines out. And we're like, I don't know, this feels good. So we kept doing it. And sadly, I will say the story of it is true. When you hear it, I do tend to fall for the same type of person and get myself in trouble with it. So, the story about it is true. We had a lot of fun writing it. And it's very hooky. Like it was stuck in all of our heads the next few days. Justin said he played it for his wife, and she was like, gosh, that is stuck in my head. And I was like, sorry. But that's what I'm hoping for. But it was super fun writing it, and it was an enjoyable process. So.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool to hear. I'm excited to, like I was telling you earlier, to just kind of like pump it through my speakers in my car. And I've heard a little bit of it, so I can't wait to hear the full version. So tell me, this
Yeah.
single is it like a catalyst to get you to record like a full album? Is that kind of what's in the works?
Sort of. I'm trying to like keep up momentum with a bunch of singles. I've only released singles so far, and I will say, with the last release, Broke, that was actually supposed to be an EP. And I had a couple songs lined up for that to be an EP. But then we decided last minute. I was like, I'm not positive I want to do an EP because I don't want to, not waste, but have all those songs clumped together and then risk some of them not getting as much attention as others, which normally is what happens when I'm sort of a lesser artist, not with like a huge fan base per se. So I was like, let's just release Broke as a single because it's I'd say the strongest song out of the ones that were going to be on the EP. And then in between the process of creating Broke and stuff, we wrote Trouble, and I was like, I think that's also strong. So I was like, okay, we can't have that on the EP because it's two really strong contradicting songs, didn't have the same vibe. So like, okay, well then maybe we do Troubles this, and then between that I've written another one. I'm like, okay, well maybe we just keep the momentum up with singles, and then if I continue to grow as an artist and grow as not a I don't like the word fan base, but I mean like a status. I mean, maybe yes, I can work my way up to an EP. I'd probably see an EP before an album, just because I don't want to put out 12 songs or so, or that have not the best quality or not the best my best foot forward, and have people not get all the attention that I think they deserve or something. But probably an EP, maybe somewhere in the future, the next few years. Just once I think that I have enough of the status for them to actually be heard, all of them heard as much as my singles are getting and stuff. But yeah, I mean, for sure a catalyst, and like working my way up to that, I think.
That sounds like a great plan. I feel like you kind of have a focused, driven approach to that. So good for you for getting it all together like that. We can't wait to hear more. Okay, so in knowing a little bit of your background and where you come from, could you tell the listeners out there a little bit about how you started in music?
Yeah, I started like really getting into singing when I was, I think, like 6. And I started with singing lessons, and with those singing lessons, my parents knew that I wanted to be classically trained, because it's just a safer way to sing, and I'm very thankful for it because now I know how to like really use my voice. So I started with opera, actually, and I was singing in different languages and doing like benefits and concerts, singing opera, which is like crazy that I'm now doing country music. 'Cause who would have thought? But I did opera, and then that slowly to all different genres of music. And then I went to musical theater, which I love, and I still do musical theater. I mean, you mentioned you're a musical theater teacher, which is awesome.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've done like student directing with that as well. But with musical theater, I actually, like, in middle school, I did my theater program at my school was really serious about it. We went to competitions and stuff with it, and I ended up not forgetting my training, but I mean, it's very different, obviously, opera and musical theater, and it's a lot
Right.
less
Mm-hmm.
like singing from your stomach and stuff, and like using your throat. I ended up losing my voice and went through a whole bunch of stuff, and it was pretty bad, and I damaged my voice pretty heavily. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when I made the switch of having to not drop opera, but yeah, basically had to not do opera anymore because I lost my voice completely. My voice changed, dropped plenty of octaves. I mean, it was a mix between puberty and just doing that. So then I decided I wanted to do the genre switch. So I started looking into writing songs because I always had an interest in that. I was like in my grandparents' backyard, like making up songs, and they were always like, "Is it just us, or does that kind of make sense?" Like, there's videos of me doing it. I mean, I have no idea if it was actually good or not. But so I started traveling to Nashville when I was like 12. I would travel up every other weekend, honestly, and I would write and perform, and started doing stuff like that, and started getting into the country scene and the pop country music. And I always knew I wanted to go to Belmont because that's what everyone I was writing with was like, okay, if you want to do this for real, if you want to be an artist, be a songwriter, you got to go to Belmont because that's what they have. They have the songwriting program. That's where you need to be on track to do. So I never applied anywhere else. I didn't even think about anywhere else. I was just like, okay, Belmont's where I need to be. I toured it, I think in like 7th grade, and I didn't tour anywhere else. I didn't even look at anywhere else. I only applied there. Thankfully, I got in, and I got into the songwriting program. So that's where I've been ever since. And I've been living in Nashville for 2 years now, going into my junior year, and I'm in the songwriting program. And yeah, that's where I'm at now. So I've had a good bit of a variety of a journey coming up here, and I've done quite a few different things since I've been here. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now, doing the whole artist thing full time. Yeah.
I was just about to ask that next question. How do you balance I guess, school life and being an artist? Like how, because I'm sure being an artist, you sometimes have like late night shows or, have to be in the studio and
Yeah.
you also have class. Like how does that work as a Belmont student?
Thankfully, with my major being songwriting and my minor is music business, a lot of my teachers are very understanding. I've had to miss a couple classes for gigs and stuff. Like I had to travel to the listening room in Pigeon Forge, and I had to spend that day traveling, so I missed a couple classes. They're very understanding. I've always been weary of like keeping up with my schoolwork and trying to do it ahead of time if I need to. So they're very understanding about that, and as they should be. Belmont is basically a music school. We have other majors like nursing, and we've got very good programs like that, but it's majority music school. So I think they're very understanding, and a lot of professors have been through this themselves. Like my songwriting professors are still songwriters and artists, and they're doing their own thing. So they understand and they're willing to help us with that. So like if we have these gigs, they're promoting us themselves. Like they're telling the other classes about it to tell them to go to these gigs. So they're very helpful. And it does get hard sometimes if I have a paper due at 12 and a gig at 10. I'm a procrastinator at heart for sure. So I'm going to leave that thing and write a paper until my fingers are bleeding. But
Yeah.
I've managed to balance it pretty well just because it is what I am doing 24/7. And like with school, if I was doing a normal, like if I was like a nursing major or something and trying to have an artist career on the side, I would probably be drowning. But since I'm doing like songwriting schoolwork and songwriting afterlife, it's I've learned to balance it pretty well.
And then you were talking about live gigs just a little bit in there. You have a gig coming up on August 21st at the Listening Room with the song Suffragettes. That's a pretty big deal. So I'm excited for you. I wish I could be there. Tell me, what's your favorite thing about
Thanks.
performing live? Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Probably just once I'm up there, I kind of like zone out. I'd say like literally I've had to like come back to reality. Like when I'm singing, like I'll forget that I'm on stage when I'm singing. Like I'm just like, were my eyes open that entire song? I'm like, were my eyes closed? Because I'll just be like singing and then I'll be like, oh shoot, and I'll look at my mom in the audience because she'll come up whenever she can because I'm from Louisiana. That's where I'm at right now for the summer, and my mom will be like, I said, I'm like, oh, I'm performing right now. So it's just like the feeling of like just being able to, I guess, like express myself. I know it's like a cheesy thing to say, not really, but the ability to like just share it with others. Because there's a lot of stuff that as songwriters we don't share. Like the really personal songs or the really deep, dark ones, but a lot of the stuff I do share, and the happy ones and even the sad ones that I do like to share, or and like seeing people's reactions when I do get really into it. Like you can tell when a person up there is just like I'm not calling them out, but like when you can tell a person is like just kind of like faking it or just singing because they can, but you can tell when a person has like really good emotions. Like when I'm up there singing with people in around, like I'll zone out listening to other artists up there, and I'm just like, wow, they love that song. Like they're into that song that they're singing, and that is like awesome to hear and awesome to come. Like they want to do this, like they want to be into this, and like you can see the audience's reaction too. So it's really incredible to like be up there and just be able to zone out and just feel it and like forget you're performing almost.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Um, I'll admit, like, even when I'm teaching, sometimes I'm like, what did I just say? I feel like that's maybe something similar. So, do you have
Yeah,
like a
you're like too
favorite?
into it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, do you have like a favorite show that you've ever played or like a favorite venue that you really love to play?
I think one of my favorite shows that I've ever done was probably the Listening Room Pigeon Forge when I hosted, just because I mean, it was just a big moment for me. I mean, it wasn't the one in Nashville, which is like huge, and that's why this one for me coming up in August is pretty big for me because it's my Nashville debut. I've done the happy hours before, but I mean, being able to do the one in Nashville is awesome. But I hosted a show in Pigeon Forge, and I had my good friends next to me. They let me pick, and it was Cam Cummings and Zach. And they were just so funny, and we played off each other. And any show I've ever played with Cam, he's just so awesome. And he's one of those people that, like, when he sings, like, you can tell that he wrote that song with every little piece of his heart, and he's like pouring that song out, and like you can tell the audience knows because he sings and the audience is like this, mesmerized, and he's just incredible. But that show was just so awesome, and we got to sign the wall, and we were just having a blast. And that night we actually got, like, it was like kind of snowing, kind of icy, and we were like, it was me, my whole family came up. We were doing a Thanksgiving vacation kind of in Gatlinburg, so we had just spent Thanksgiving up there, and we were stuck kind of up there because my mom was like skeptical of driving back. We're from Louisiana, so like any snow, any ice is scary to drive in. So mom was like, I don't want to drive back. It's snowy. It's scary. So we were trying to call any hotel that we could. And I was like, I saved us. Don't worry. I booked a hotel on Priceline. And I was like, okay, it was like $50. We're fine. Let's just go stay there. And then we went to the place, and I looked at the reservation, and I booked it for the next month accidentally. So I messed up, and we ended up having to drive. So scary, whatever. And I felt bad, but it was just really fun. I was just really excited. But that was just awesome. And then as far as venue, I'm not sure. I really like Live Oak a lot. Performing at Live Oak is really fun just because, like, no matter what night you go, like, I've performed on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, no matter what night you go on Music Row, it's awesome to go. Like, there's always a pretty full house, packed crowd. I mean, and it's fun. The environment's just really fun to do. And, like, no matter what round you play, whether it's like, I think I've played a couple of different ones. They're always really fun.
Yeah. A lot of support there too. A lot of other songwriters like hanging out. So it's kind of nice to just be like in a community where you are accepted and want to be heard. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of your music favorites, maybe some music influences. What would you say are your influences? I guess you talked a lot about your classical music training, and you talked a lot about musical theater. What would you, let's say, 13-year-old Laine, what did she love to listen to?
Wow. I mean, definitely Carrie Underwood for sure. I'm not sure about the timeline there, but Maren Morris has always been, for as long as I can remember her being around, I loved her. Kelly Clarkson, always have loved her. She's always been amazing. I mean, I definitely, people can hate me now. I'm not the biggest old country fan as I was back then, but here's why. I mean, I grew up, my grandparents drove me around everywhere. They're my biggest fans ever. But when I obviously couldn't drive, I was too young. My grandparents, they had like 3 CDs, like Brad Paisley, Carrie Underwood, and I don't know, maybe George Strait or something. I'm not really remembering anymore, but they had like a couple CDs, and they would just repeat, go through those CDs all the time. So I got picked up from school, Brad Paisley. I got picked up to go eat. I got picked up from dance practice. Those CDs were on repeat. So, like, I mean, they're ingrained in my brain. So, like, I would just listen to them on repeat, and I loved it. Like, I was fine. So now, like, going up now, I'm hearing those songs. I'm like, ugh, I can't hear that anymore. So I'm not the biggest old country fan. And living in Nashville, people are like, how dare you? And I'm like, I get it. I know it's a sin. I understand. I'm a country singer who doesn't like old country. I understand. It's not like I don't like it. I'm just like tired of it a little, because some people didn't go through that like I did. They don't have the listening trauma like I did. Like, if I didn't hear it 24/7 every day, like have the trauma of like that blaring in the car when I got picked up from school in the carpool line, I would understand. But now it's just giving me a little bit of PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
But for sure, Carrie Underwood's a huge one. Cam. I mean, now it's definitely changed a little bit because I'm really in the pop country scene of like that new world stuff. So like Megan Maroney is a huge influence on me now. I'm often like when I'm telling my producers like what kind of sound I want, I really often go straight to her album and I'm trying to like model that. Kelsey Ballerini for sure. Still Maren Morris. I mean, I really love Maren Morris's like grungy sound and all of her stuff.
Yeah.
Trouble is really, really. I tried to focus on grunge of Maren Morris and Megan Maroney stuff. But yeah, I mean, Women of Country is like, if I had to really hone it down, like I've always like, not just like because it's like girl power, but like, I mean, obviously, but I really, really have always liked that contemporary Women of Country sound, like Tennille Towns, Arts, all the Tennilles, which is an awesome name. But yeah, Women of Country for sure has always been like a huge influence on me for as long as I can remember, even liking country music.
You were talking about a little bit before we got on, even like some musical theater stuff that you like have a kick for. Obviously, me being a musical theater teacher, I want to dive into that some. So tell me, like, what are some of your favorite musicals that you like to listen to?
Annie will forever be my favorite, I think, always. I played Annie in middle school. So that was like if I could like still play Annie to this day as my 5'9" self, I would. Like it was so funny. In middle school I was like very not hated, but like everyone else in my theater group was very annoyed because I was Annie and I was taller than everyone else. So it looked very strange. But I was like, it's fine. Okay, I'll just duck down. But if I could still play Annie, I mean, as we were previously talking, The Waitress. I love The Waitress. Dear Evan Hansen. Love Dear Evan Hansen. The plot line sometimes is a little off, but the music is just amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
all
very
the classics.
singer-songwriter.
Oh,
Newsies. Even Waitresses too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Newsies.
Exactly. The Waitress is definitely very singer-songwriting because Sarah Bareilles has a big influence on that one. But Newsies, if I could play, gosh, what's her name? The girl, basically the only girl character in there. Gosh, I can't remember her name.
I'm blanking.
But it's actually so funny because when I drive down from Nashville to Louisiana or vice versa, if I'm ever starting to feel tired, the only thing that wakes me up, I have like a 4-hour Broadway musical theater playlist that I will just belt and I'll just start singing. And like if I ever have like my mom in the car or my friends in the car and I'm driving, they're like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. I'm like, I have to. Do you want me to fall asleep? And like I just start belting it. I'm sure my dog's tired of hearing it because I'm like, like singing, and like my dog looks at me, she's like, what are you doing? But no, I have to do it. I love it.
That warms my heart because I do the same thing in the car too. So that is so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we talked a little about musical favorites now, and we talked about live shows. If there was a performer, and I know you talked a lot about Maren Morris, so maybe she's on that list, that you would like to tour with or like to, be seen at a festival with, or even have like a duet with on a song, who would those artists be? I know it's a tricky question.
Let's see. A duet with on a song. Let's see. I don't know. It really might be Maren Morris. Everyone has always told me that me and her voices would sound really good together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe Maren Morris would definitely be up there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I could hear that. Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. I mean, yeah, I really love her. I mean, meeting with Carrie Underwood would be a dream. The only reason I wouldn't automatically say Carrie Underwood is because I would be too intimidated to ever want to sing anything next to her or with her because she'd blow me out of the water. I mean, of course, Maren Morris would too, but I'm just like, I think Carrie Underwood would just blow me out of the water. So I'm just like, I don't know if I could do that. But God, I'm sure there's so many amazing people that I'm forgetting. I mean, to sing with Megan Maroney also, I would love. I think me and her would just be best friends.
Right.
I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Me and Meg, I think would be awesome
Besties.
friends. I see her personality on TikTok, and I'm like, girl, me and you are the same person. I see her, I'm like, we are the same person. I think we would be such good friends.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, we'd get in the studio and we'd probably have too much fun to get a song done. But you know, who knows? Maybe we get along.
But that's the best way to do it, though. You know, you got to be making music with your friends.
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah. I think Maren Morris probably, honestly. I know you called it, but I think yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have done a lot of covers of her songs as well.
Yeah, you got to speak it into existence at some point. Well, there you go. Yeah, I feel like one day it's just going to happen, and then I'm going to be like, remember that podcast when you talked about how you spoke it into existence, so it's got to happen now.
I'm really going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be like, don't go look at that podcast. I'm like, don't look at how much I fangirl over you. Don't ever look at that.
No, everybody loves, like, you know, if I were an artist and somebody was like fangirling over me as an artist, like, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? I would love that. So I'm sure she would too, you know. Okay, well, listen, we talked a good bit today, and I'm so glad because you are so fun to talk to, and hopefully I'll make it up to Nashville to see you sometime. Yeah, definitely. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to, or is there any other things that you want to promote, or anybody you want to give a shout out to, or anything like that?
I mean, just thank you for having me so much. This is so much fun. I really enjoyed talking to you. Literally just chatting, having fun. But what we've been talking about, my song Trouble comes out on the 28th, so please go check that out, guys. But follow me on social media if you guys have not already. That'll be Laine LAL Music. That's literally for everything.
Oh yeah, perfect.
But yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. I'll shout out Maren Morris if you ever see this and want to collab with me, please. But no, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. So much fun. Okay, so you heard it here with Leigh and Laine, and this is Coda Country Chats. Y'all have a good day.
Bye, guys.